The pundits like to slice and dice our country into red states and blue states.
The time for empty talk is over.
You don't get to do anything you want to.
But
millions of people have got to stand up and demand that we have a government that represents all of us, not the 1%.
do not allow anyone to tell you that it cannot be done.
Welcome to Kleptocracy Podcast with me, Tom.
And me, Jay.
We did it. And we're just going to talk about some of the news of the week. It's not as exciting as previous weeks. There's no insurrections or any riots happening. So first, we're going to talk about the $1,400 checks now. Biden ran on the $2,000 check, but now he has, we'll say, negotiated to $1,400 checks. $2,000 would be the $600 we received earlier. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's pretty embarrassing, and it undermines the voters in Georgia that worked very, diligently, in committees and making sure that Biden won. They literally said there's an infographic that they were going to have $2,000 checks out the door. And for some odd reason, and I knew this was going to happen, a lot of neoliberals and centrists like to say, oh, well, that is the $2,000 because it's taking the $600 and account to the $1,400. Well, you can literally pull up an infographic from their website, from the platform they were running on for Ossoff and Warnock. And literally, it says on the infographic, $2,000 checks. And they're going to get that right out the door.
Yeah, that's the first thing.
Don't worry.
First thing, day one, we're going to do this thing. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's not at all what happened. So
that's not what happened. And Biden is also trying to cave and trying to negotiate even lower than the 1,400, which I think is a giant mistake. I do not think he should give into austerity. This is not the time for austerity politics, especially not that it was ever a time before, in my opinion, but especially in the middle of an economic recession and a pandemic. So
that's exactly why we can't afford it. We can afford to give $1 trillion tax break to the wealthy because they create jobs, but we can't give you who pay your taxes money to re-spend in the economy and support the economy that's failing. Anyway,
libertarians, they do not care about the deficit when they give $1 trillion, tax cuts like Trump did in 2017. But as soon as, working class people and, not giant corporations need stimulus money, that's the whole totally different story. So,
well, in the words of Mitt Romney,
fallacy and hypocrites, but yeah, go ahead.
Corporations are people, my friend. Wasn't that Romney, or was that a?
Yeah. He also said binders full of women.
Binders,
yeah.
Binders. God damn it, dude. Yeah. So they get money too. They pay their taxes. Just not.
Yeah, mega churches pay their tax. Oh wait.
Amazon. Walmart.
Oh. Hey, Elon Musk. Jeff Bezos care. Oh.
Bill Gates.
Yeah.
They spend a lot of money buying stuff, so they don't have to pay their taxes if they buy stuff.
Just to add on to the Bill Gates thing, did you hear that he just purchased like a massive amount of like farmland? He's trying to get into agriculture.
Why?
I guess he's just trying.
He's a farmer now? I didn't know a tech guy really knew anything about farming. Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how billionaires of monopolies and corporations, when they have that much capital at their disposal, they can invest into anything they want.
Where do you buy
And
the land?
not just shareholders for that. They can literally just buy their way into anything. It's the
Yeah,
tech industry is becoming the modern day railroad
it is.
of monopolies with antitrust laws. Like this is just ridiculous. It was in Washington State. I believe he bought.
So Eastern Washington, right?
I
Where the,
believe so.
where the
I'd
old
have.
land is.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but
We don't need.
it's
I'm sure it's
like hundreds of thousands of acres. Yeah,
a farm there. Okay.
it's pretty peculiar. If I don't know about you, but I'm not really wanting. I don't know. Like, I'd rather have either the public sector or someone who's more qualified in agriculture probably to keep running.
I mean, the guy is obviously pretty smart. He probably has. I don't know. I think if we had more farms that were producing more food, that would bring up the supply, which would
Yeah,
possibly drop the price of food. So it's fine if.
yeah.
And,
I'm just apprehensive because of special interests. That's all. Like
if
that's
he's
just
doing it for a tax subsidy, then that's a little fucking, because we know that for good cause, farmers do get large tax subsidies, obviously, to bring the cost of food down. That way, farming is like a legitimate thing instead of, and that actually makes a lot of sense. You would actually want to subsidize the cost of your food. But if Gil Bates is just going to do it to get that subsidy, then that's dumb. But if he's going to, I don't know what he's doing it for. I have no idea. So
yeah. I can't. We can only speculate on this part, but I just feel that supporting locally or like worker co-ops for farms, I think that would probably be the better like vision to go to. I'm just apprehensive because just considering like all the avenues and investments he has as a shareholder, it just screams conflict of interest, just being objective. This is not me trying to be hyperbolic or anything like that. It's just I don't know, just looking at it objectively, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Hasn't released like a statement, but so
well, it's not like he.
I did see something from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation though that had a article trying to promote and advocate for child slave labor. So, and that was posted on that was literally posted by the it was on an article owned by the Bill Gates and Melinda Foundation, which they're like trying to skew it as like, oh, it taught me life skills and valuable lessons.
Oh,
And that's just not the takeaway. I don't appropriately to have.
isn't that same? So okay, so that same type of argument can be used, and it's often used in college students. Oh, this is a free unpaid internship because you're going to gain experience. So
Exploitation. Yeah.
No, it's exploitation. You're not paying me for free labor. That's what you're doing.
There should be no such thing as unpaid internships. I mean, personally, I think that's criminal, but
Yeah. Oh, we're going to work you 50 hours a week. Oh, cool. What am I gaining from it? Oh, nothing. And we're not even going to hire you afterwards. Thanks for the free labor for 4 months.
sucker.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Oh, you learned a good life lesson not to trust people. I don't. Yeah, that's a thing.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
And then the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation also pushed, or I would say influenced, what the vaccine to not be open source or free or whatever.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to bring that up. Yeah, go ahead. Expand on that.
That is my expansion of it. You know more about it than I do.
Well, we'll just leave it at that for now. But yeah, that again, just to me, like the whole rollout of this has just been completely botched. Now Pfizer, I believe, is trying to charge more money for subsidies from the government, even though and this is the dilemma, not just with big tech, but like the pharmaceutical industry and a lot of technology, it's invested by it's publicly funded a lot of this research, say like in the universities and things like that, and all this development, and then you see big pharmaceutical companies privatize healthcare industry, the private sector try to price gouge and profiteer off of that. And this is what's so painful, and is like now they're asking for less dosages, right? And they're trying to not sell as many, which makes no sense to me. You want to roll out as many vaccinations as you can.
Yeah, but if they control the supply and demand, then they can actually ask for more money.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's almost like some things should be a service and for the public, not for
Right. No,
capitalist
like, I've even
ventures.
thought about it before, but when it's like a university will spend taxpayers' money or like donations or whatever to help create a vaccine, help design it, study it for years, and then a corporation comes in and just basically buys that formula and copyrights it and then sells it
Yeah,
for millions of dollars. And it's like, cool, what does the university get? Oh, we gave them like, $100,000 for it, knowing that you can make $1 billion off of it. Like, come on. Like, and you didn't do any research. So you're going to charge people, $1,000 for the pill because for R&D when you didn't do the R&D.
exactly.
A school did the R&D. All you did was take it and ship it over to China, have it made there, then shipped back, and then sold on our market. That's all you did.
Mm-hmm.
You just have the distribution network.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful system, What was the next point you were going to bring up? Was it the
Biden's executive orders. One that I know that he did was he lifted the transgender ban in the military, which is pretty awesome, which is pretty good. I can't believe that Trump even made that a thing.
yeah, that was abhorrent. That was pretty
You
grotesque.
have a standing army of professional soldiers. Wouldn't you want people to do that?
When you want to recruit as many as you can for
An army.
for the war machine, yeah, exactly.
It's asinine to me that. I mean, again, it just shows, Trump's, obvious.
It's counterintuitive, is it not?
You think,
Just from their perspective, like.
but Trump's voting base is full of a lot of evangelicals who are obviously anti-trans, anti-gay, well, they're anti, and so that was kind of his consolidation to them, like, hey, thanks for voting to me, I'll do this for you. And that was kind of his thing. It's kind of dumb and makes no sense, but I'm glad that Biden looked at that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, he also, I believe, he put us back in the Paris Climate Agreement, which.
Okay,
again,
well, one thing that's irritating about that is it's all about Paris. It does nothing for America. Why do we care about Paris? It's America first.
don't you love conservative talking points that just like, it's almost like they don't read like what's in it. It's funny because it's such a half measure. It's not even radical. And even though we need radical like legislation to actually address greenhouse gases and carbon emissions. And
I wouldn't even call it radical. I would call it common sense measures. But that's just me.
Exactly. Well, you see, you have to have gaslighting and propaganda and manufacturing consent. You have to have
lighting because it's full of assholes lighting this shit.
Yeah, you have to have a media that is not objective. I mean,
yeah. So
I mean, how else would we have monopolized media?
No,
I mean, how else would we get it?
Record is a great idea. It's fantastic. That was one thing that he worked really hard in during the Obama administration, was joining that agreement. And I was very, very upset that Trump decided that we didn't want to do that anymore. So, and it's kind of, it's interesting that Ted Cruz Like he doesn't even read it. He just says shit. Like he doesn't even read it. I mean this guy, this guy passed the bar and got a law degree, and he doesn't know what the Paris Climate Accord. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like when Gary Johnson ran for president, didn't know what Aleppo was. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, you went to law school. You went to regular school, got a 4-year degree, and then you went to law school for another 3 to 4 years, and you don't know how to read what's in this thing. It says, I don't know if he did it to just like get his name in the news and get his name out there, or just signal to his supporters. I don't know what it was, but he's got to be in a big dum-dum, if you ask me.
No, dude, you don't think he is really insightful and keen on reading proposals?
I don't think he reads half the shit. I think Ted Cruz.
No, he doesn't. That's why he has fucking Twitter feuds with fucking Seth Rogen on fucking Twitter. I can't even do the laugh. It's
about politics. The stoner Hollywood actor, writer, whatever, will roast you. Come on, dude. Like, just...
Hey, credit to Seth Rogen. He's actually stuck up for Palestinian rights, you know?
Yeah.
Isn't Seth Rogen Jewish too?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
and,
you need a two-state solution, right? Isn't that the idea? You can have a one-state solution. Isn't that the...
Well, you know, you have to have pro-Zionism by megachurches, so...
Oh, you're right. That's more important because those guys need to buy, 15 private jets and 4 yachts. That'll really help get us into heaven.
Well, how else would pastors survive? I mean...
Right. I never thought of it that way. We're really onto something here. I think you should be a televangelist.
Yeah. Hey, if I get a private jet to go wherever I want, I mean...
Right? One thing I want to talk about is the fucking Bernie meme. It's my favorite thing in the world right now. And it makes me laugh. You can see it behind me if you're on the YouTube watching this, but if you're just listening to the audio, you're just gonna have to Google or whatever, Bing it or Internet Explorer or whatever you're gonna use.
Ask Jeeves.
You could yes, ask Jeeves to show you Bernie Sanders chair memes. They're the funniest thing. It's so funny. People put them everywhere. Put him with the Golden Girls. They put him everywhere. It's so funny to me. It makes me laugh so much. They put him in an armbar. He's giving an armbar to somebody. Like it makes me laugh so much. I saw one where he was in Carbonite on Star Wars. It is so funny. It makes me laugh. I love it. And the guy's a meme. He's sitting there cold, just trying to concentrate. Now he's a meme. He didn't even do anything. It's just like this whole Biden inauguration happened. Everyone's like, "Hey, look, Bernie's in a chair," like that.
He became the focal point, even though it's supposed to be literally inauguration day, and the focal point was supposed to be, yeah, it's pretty funny. It's comical.
It's funny to me.
But Ben Shapiro also tried to like reiterate this and make a meme of himself in mittens, and I have to say that kind of ruined it. For me, it killed the meme.
I mean, it's supposed to happen organically, and
yes, and it was so forced and cringy that and it's funny because he likes to escalate the culture war, and he tries to criticize that the left is not funny, and then he takes something that's genuinely funny and organic, and he just incinerates it and craps all over it, and now it's not. Yeah.
That's his job.
I mean, it was like such a feeble and bad attempt. Like it was just so cringy. You can look that one up too, or not. Do yourself a favor and don't.
I saw this.
Just look up the Bernie one.
Mimi. They went along with the Bernie Mimi that was like, Americans will literally put him everywhere but the White House. I was like, oh damn it. It's true though. Like,
it's so true.
Yeah. I love that meme. The guy's a meme. Everything he does is just funny. I don't know.
I love how relatable to the working class, the that he is.
And he
It's
pushed
just
that. He pushed like, yeah, this is cool, but like the mittens, the woman who made the mittens, he went on about her. It's an old
Mhm.
sweater she made. She had an old sweater and made mittens for him. And he's
yeah,
only
it was great.
this is great, but look what she did, and look what these other people are doing. Instead of pushing his own agenda, he's helping push working class people and use that meme type.
His agenda is helping the working class.
And
Yeah.
using that attention he's getting from the meme and using it to really talk about other people and their struggles, not just look how cool I am right now. And I
Yeah, I
find
like
that
how yeah. I like how he uses his platform, like you said, to enable and advocate for, pro working class policies. But I also like how what was I gonna say? Like, yeah, I like the anecdote about the teacher that he mentioned, and but you look at everyone else that was wearing like $2,000 and over suits, and he's like literally the only one wearing like an actual relatable coat and
is that the
mittens
code that
or
you
gloves.
other meme where he's like, I'm again asking for your financial support or whatever. That's the same
Yeah.
coat he was wearing in that one. Like during
Yeah.
the primary. Like the guy doesn't go out and buy new coats because he's like, I'm gonna be on camera on Capitol Hill. I better go to Gucci or Chanel or whatever rich people shop at the Apple store and buy a new coat or something. Like, nah, no, he probably bought that from like Kohl's, or he actually probably bought it from Burlington in Burlington.
Or from a thrift store.
Yeah, I mean, like his first suit was just like something from like the thrift store, cost him like $20. Like, you know,
I know, and what kills me is when people, and Tim Pool I've seen as one of the people that on the right that have done this. They like to say that, oh well, because he's made $2 million off of what, a book deal, that somehow they're critical of that, like that undermines his progressive agenda, even though he would raise taxes higher on himself. Does that
right?
does that not like kind of prove the point? I don't know. I just thought that was a fallacy worth pointing out.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Tim Pool, more like Pim Tool,
Yeah.
right? Got him. No, the Bernie meme's great. If you haven't seen and I don't know how you haven't seen the Bernie meme. Even some of my family members that are relatively conservative love the Bernie memes. So
It's so good.
it's amazing. Another thing I want to bring up is Biden pushing for Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill.
Actually, he made a compromise and he's going to be putting her on the $14 bill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Where can I get a $14 bill?
You go to the bank and you just have them issue a check that says gullible. No.
Oh, okay. And then he's gonna negotiate down to a $2 bill, right?
Yeah, that's the half measure, is getting half of the half. That is the central theme to caving in austerity.
Got it.
So
I think we understand the Biden administration, his presidency now.
yeah, yes, I heard a lot of sentiments saying that we will push him left, and yeah, I never bought into that. If you wanted to give me the argument and the framing that he wasn't as detrimental as Trump, I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But that's such a low bar and such a bad talking point.
Yeah,
He still has policies a lot of policies I didn't agree with him doing, but Trump is such a, he has neoconservatives in his cabinet, it's just his whole agenda. He moved the poverty lines. Like, there was a lot of things he did that affected a lot of people, especially the working class, that suffered from it. Not to mention like DACA.
Sure.
I know that Biden, did he sign that DACA yet?
No.
I heard that he was talking about it. I can't say, I don't think he's officially signed into it. And he hasn't rescinded the Trump tax bill yet, I don't believe either.
Oh, well,
right?
They'll get to that. Don't worry.
Yeah, they'll find a way sometime. Don't ask when.
They gotta get his cabinet nominees approved, and then after that, they're gonna bring Trump to trial, and then after that, maybe
We'll get to the Harriet Tubman $20 bills, and then
that'll take 9 months because it's got to go back for a lot of negotiating. That's a really big deal. It's a lot of negotiating, and then they'll have a break for a couple months, and then probably around year 3, going into the re-election, then they'll talk about that. They're probably going to save that to say, "Hey, vote for me again, because then I'll do this."
yeah, like, you know, and I'll be objective and I'll give Biden credit where it's due, but that doesn't make him, you know, any less accountable for his actions, you know. And if he doesn't go far enough economically to materially improve people's lives, and yes, socially and as well, you know, of course, like the transgender bill, that was a good bill to revoke and, you know, help the LGBTQ community. You know, fighting for racial and gender justice also correlates with economic, you know, dealing with economic inequalities and materially improving the conditions of the working class. So both can be true, and which leads me to the next point of they should not wait until April, which has been the rumors as to passing the next stimulus. I think that is a giant mistake, considering they ran on $2,000, would be, quote, right out the door if you vote for Ossoff and Warnock. So I really hope that they do not cave into austerity and, you know, cave into McConnell committing obstruction. And, you know, he's already threatened to, you know, use the filibuster. Although today, on the 25th of January, supposedly he's considering not using that. But at this point, there's been no good faith arguments for negotiations. I think the filibuster needs to go. I don't think it's controversial at all. And I think Mitch McConnell and the GOP have ruined any, you know, any redeemable aspects and qualities, you know, on that note. I don't know if what you'd like to add to that, but I know that there's been some controversy with some people, but I can't think of a good reason to keep the filibuster around anymore, because what's going to stop Mitch McConnell from committing obstruction or, you know, like he's been doing, or just stagnating any cooperations? There is no good faith negotiations. I just don't see that argument. And I've seen people try to say that, but that's not the framework that we live in. That's not the GOP in a nutshell. That's just not what that's not their agenda.
Where you're coming from, and I get where you're coming from. But I think that the idea to not get rid of, or to, you know, to the filibuster argument, is to make sure that when Republicans gain control again, they get you have the ability to still filibuster if you're on the other side. That's where Democrats are. They're like, hey, I know you guys like the way it was, but just in case you get power back, please leave this. We'll let you have it for now. Please leave it for, you know, it's a good faith type of thing. Like, hey, don't like obstruct everything. But you have a good point where he's just going to obstruct everything. He's doing it now.
There is no good faith with the GOP. If you're the opposition party, I mean, this was implemented during the Jim Crow era. If you want the majority, the Democratic majority, you know, to represent the government and to actually, you know, pass an agenda that represents the people, then I can't justify that. You know, I've seen Ilhan Omar and a lot of, I think Jamal Bowman stated it, you know, that we just it needs to be abolished. You know, I just don't see the purpose of it anymore if the GOP is going to just not be in good faith on any negotiations. You know, I mean, McConnell has killed what? How many bills and proposals that were passed in the House?
Well,
I mean, and I know that's separate, but that's still goes to my point of there is no good faith. It's just he won't even bring things up to a table. You know,
Well,
he even as of recently, he's still like considering whether or not he wants to bring impeachment
right.
to the table of voting. Yeah, it should be brought to the table.
Why? Trump didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He just was talking to people, okay? And they got out of hand.
Law and order. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Walk
just
to the Capitol. We love you. You're very special. You know, I don't
you're
know.
very special.
When it comes
I
to
love my supporters.
it's just it's interesting because you try to take, and this is just a problem with politicians in general. Most politicians will say they're lawyers, so they have to lie for a living. But when you look at it, you look at good faith stuff. We'll look at Lindsey Graham's a good example of, oh yeah, good faith, yeah, trust me. Okay, well, you said that we can't vote in a Supreme Court justice because it's too close, and we can use your own words against you, and we should trust you. Oh, you're gonna do it a week before the election. What happened to when you said just trust me and give me good faith, and I'll be a good boy? Oh, it doesn't matter what you say. Okay, so you're a hypocrite. And that's a fair point where you're saying, like, oh yeah, we'll just give good faith to them. Why? They're just gonna fucking abuse that power anyway. They do it all the time.
Well, as The Rock said, what do you think? It doesn't matter what you think.
That's true. Oh, it's true. It's damn true. I just, yeah. Another point I want to make, probably my last point, is there's still ongoing protests in this faraway liberal land called Portland, even though Biden was just installed as president. And I was watching a CNN kind of interview thingy where they went to Portland, whatever, and they were asking people questions, and they didn't understand why people are still protesting. And obviously, CNN has a narrative that they like to frame. So they were asking people, like, why do you think you're doing this or whatever? And they're just like, well, because of stuff. They interviewed like the dumbest or like the highest people to try to give a legitimate reason as to why they're protesting. And I was reading through the comments and reading some other videos and some other stuff. And people are still protesting because even though Biden is now president, doesn't mean many systemic issues of like wealth and income inequality and racial and gender inequality and things like that have all of a sudden gone bye-bye. Just because Biden is now president doesn't mean all those issues are gone. Those are systemic issues. By having a new president doesn't make those issues go away. And so you shouldn't just stop protesting because one guy got elected. That's not how you're going to change things.
Well, and that's the problem with, you wonder why people have such a low trust rate of national media. And that's, when you conjure and use certain framing and narratives that aren't accurate, and you shift the Overton window and you gaslight, it's what's called manufacturing consent. And you can read Noam Chomsky about that. But regardless of how you feel, yeah, that's part of the dilemma, of the landscape we live in. The media is not objective. That doesn't surprise me. I'm sure they wouldn't want to ask and get coherent answers.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't.
Why would they want someone articulate or with a straightforward, what's to stop them from editing out certain portions of it? It's hard to be objective when you don't have an objective media. And that's why more people lean towards going to YouTube and watching independent content creators. That's just the world we live in now, But yeah, I totally get what you're saying, just in Seattle, it was making headlines on Twitter when it looked like a bystander, maybe one of the protesters, got ran over by a police SUV.
Oh, yeah. So what happened with that was there was an illegal street race, and there's like a bunch of people there cheering on a illegal street race in Tacoma, and the police were there, kind of trying to push through the crowd because for some reason a police SUV need to push through a crowd of people instead of just telling them to go home. And a bunch of people surrounded the vehicle and started pounding on the windows, and the cop just floored it, hit a few people, ran somebody over, put a couple people in the hospital. That police officer has been placed on administrative leave while it's being investigated.
I mean, in what world? I mean, is that justified to run over an unarmed bystander? Like
They were
in a fucking crowd. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. So you run over someone in the fucking crowd, not go after the people that were street racing illegally?
But they were racing illegally. You don't understand how big of an issue that is in Tacoma. Like,
the aroma of Tacoma.
That's why it smells. It's because all the street racing. Okay?
Yeah.
That's why. They're all initial D'ing around the place, drifting, around the Tacoma Dome, and the police had to stop them, and that's the only way they knew how. It's just interesting. I don't know. I think it's weird for you to even put your car in that situation to begin with. Like, why would
interesting that you have to have an authoritarian approach to a bystander, that you run them over. And the way he ran them over, he didn't even stop and to see if they're okay. He fucking sped out.
What you should have did.
It was so fucked up.
Is he could have just did this. He could have just pulled in front of the cars that were about to go on the street race, put on his siren or put on his megaphone or whatever, say, hey, you're breaking the law. No more street racing. Go home. If you don't leave, you're going to be under arrest. Simple, easy. Everybody would have left. But no. I think the city and the police department is probably going to get sued for millions of dollars because of this.
And they should.
So
I'm shocked that guy even lived. I mean, from what I saw, I am like, I'm at a loss for words to even articulate my thoughts on that, because it looked like, I mean, from the footage, just watching it, it looked like you'd think it would have shattered like his pelvis or his hip. I mean, I literally thought like his internal organs would have had damage from the repercussions. And I was shocked to hear that he even lived. So, I mean, this just isn't a sedan. This is a fucking SUV. Like,
they were punching the car, and it's just like, well, why was his car in the middle of a crowd anyway? Like, what? Pull in front of the vehicles that are about to race, or call for backup, or whatever. When you see like a crowd of 100 people, maybe you don't approach. I don't know. I mean,
I was watching local news about like the protests too. And it's funny. It's only left-wing protests that I see that they ever act concerned with businesses, but you never see that with right-wing militias. I never see the concern about local and small businesses.
Well, it's because right-wing militias aren't going to destroy their local businesses.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. Yeah,
because they are also property owners and business owners, and they don't want to destroy their own town, like Antifa.
But it's okay. But it's okay if they go to the Capitol Hill.
That's not the point. The point is Antifa is so bad, and we need to watch that.
Law and order.
I don't know.
I love my supporters. Law and order. I did not tell them to commit a coup.
Well, technically, he didn't. He did use very specific language.
No, he used double talk rhetoric, which gave him enough outing, but it was the most half-assed apology that I've ever seen. It was still complicit with the idea, like with the insurrection.
The Democrats are giving the Trump team ample time to prepare a defense. They're giving them 2 weeks because they're gonna do their confirmations first, Biden's cabinet confirmations, and then they'll do it. So it gives Biden enough time, it gives Trump enough time to form a legitimate defense.
So this is what I want to know. Okay, if he is impeached twice and it actually does go to a vote within the Senate, if Mitch McConnell doesn't fucking block them,
somehow he'll make. Filibuster. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, good faith. So what I'm wondering is, if you're impeached twice, I think the biggest thing that they should trying to be addressing is that he's not able to run for office ever again. And if you're impeached twice, are you even allowed to run as president?
No, you can't run for any office ever again if you're impeached twice. Like, you're literally banned from public office.
Right. But he was only impeached within the House. He wasn't impeached.
That's going to be a
Senate.
legal loophole. I think either way, I don't think Trump will ever run for office again. I think his name is that.
I don't think he should be allowed to. I mean, if he's impeached
I
twice.
don't think he would. I think his name is so destroyed in this country now. I think he's going to go to probably Eastern Europe or the Middle East, probably, where he has a lot of influence, I will say, to build his business. I think that's what will happen now. I think
he has a lot of connections to Saudi Arabia. So he might be.
Punish politicians in America. Okay? That's
we're not even objective half the time. Well, I mean, people like you and I might be, but overall in the landscape of things, I mean, politicians get such easy questions in this country. If you look in other developed countries like, say, the UK or Australia, I mean, the framing of like questions by journalists is a totally different dynamic, you know?
Right.
And even the UK, like, parallels a lot of the United States, and not in a good way, like their foreign policy, but even they are more objective, you know?
I think, well, a lot of it too is based on their system of government, their parliamentary system of government. Right. I think that has a lot to do with it, but when you only have a duopoly of politics, it's hard to.
Well, I was going to say, like, they have their own issues with like a left coalition like we have here, but nothing is as bad here. But I just think it's really interesting because there is a lot of parallels between the United States and the UK, like, you know, just in general, but I won't, you know, go into 20 minutes on that. But
right. Yeah. I think that is all the time we have for this episode. Hey, you want to say goodbye in a funny way?
Goodbye in a funny way.
Goodbye in a funny way. Follow us on the Twitter. Follow us on the Instagram, YouTube, Spotify.
You can find us at Kleptocracy Pod on Twitter.
Kleptocracy Podcast on Instagram. You can find us at Kleptocracy Podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, I think is one people use. Napster, if that's still a thing. Just basically anywhere you find music, I'm sure you're gonna find it.
We don't have a Parler. I'm sorry to disappoint. I know.
No, we do not, because it's not even up and running anyway. So, and on that note, I'm gonna say goodbye.
Bye.